Well, hello everyone. This is Gary D. Conencourt from morethanasnapshot.com. Tonight, for the first time, I'm trying the Google Hangouts on the air to do my regular weekly image critiques, and we'll see how this works out. If anyone happens to join in and maybe have discussion or comments, we'll see how that goes. It's now 7 o'clock, so I guess we could begin and see how this works out. So let me turn on the screen sharing. And we'll get started. I believe that it's sharing now, so we'll see. The first set of images that came in were about the image editing lesson. And so here is the first image before it was edited, apparently. And I like the image to begin with. It's a nice, cute image. There's a nice background. It's not distracting. The histogram looks good. I don't see any problems with highlights or shadows, anything like that. If we zoom in, it's not perfectly sharp. It looks like there might have been some movement on the person's part, and they only had a 60th of a second for a shutter speed, so it's not bad, but it is soft. There is some motion blur in there. So let's take a look at how they did some editing to it. And they did a selective color. We have most of the image black and white, and then they kept the color part in the pink flower. And that works well. I think it looks good. Maybe could have, let's see if a little contrast would help with this image. Maybe a little less contrast or a little more contrast. All right, we don't want to go too much. I tend to like a little bit more contrast, so I'll add that in there. So I think that you did a pretty good job, and keep up the good work. And that's the color one. Okay, so then we have a very nice flower image. Again, the histogram and the exposure all look pretty good. A little bit of underexposure, but it's really no big deal because that's a black part of the picture anyway. It's not really going to be taking away any detail. And when you print something, it's good to have parts of the picture actually be black. They're nice flowers. You got an interesting arrangement. I like how it comes out at you. Nothing is totally centered. Where the sharpness is seems to be more down here. And that's okay. Those are kind of the more dominant parts of the flower. So overall, I think that's a pretty good image. Here we have a nice soft waterfall effect coming over some rocks in black and white. I really like this one. It's well done. Everything is carefully composed. The blur looks nice. The only thing is when you do these long exposures and blur water, it's very easy to overexpose parts of the water. And that's what happened right here. This part is overexposed. You can see that there's a part of the histogram shooting up. And that's really the only problem with this image. Maybe if you have the original raw file, maybe you can do something to bring that back. But other than that, I really like it. I think it looks good in black and white also. All right, I believe this was also an image editing type of a setup. This was, I believe, the before image, and it's a nice sunset with a flag. And let's see if the next image is the after. Yes, it is. And so I really like what you did with the sky and the water. All of that looks great. You really enhanced the color. The exposure looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any problems with that. Sharpness, it's definitely sharp. I think the one thing is it lacks a little bit of interest because, yes, you do have the flag as your foreground interest, but because the flag is not really doing anything and is not stretched out, it's a little bit, even though it is your main subject, it's a little bit of a dull subject, although the sky is a great background. I think that's what's hurting this image a little bit. Also, I probably would clone out all of this stuff down here at the bottom. If you really simplify an image, it really can help to make it stronger. We could probably crop most of it out too. You don't need to have that much stuff down there at the bottom. We could just have a little bit of the water. That really simplifies the bottom. And then all you have to do is clone out this pole right here. All right, here we have some macro type images and the bee coming up to the flower. And I think that's really nice. These are sometimes difficult to capture. The bees are moving fast and all that kind of stuff. The bee does look sharp, and so does this flower. So you did a great job with that. The colors are really nice. The background is nicely blurred. I think the problem I would say, though, is the bee is way over to the left side of the image. And there's a lot of extra stuff that is probably not really important to the image on the right side. So if we crop this, we could get rid of all that side. You could either make it a vertical image, something like this, or bring it up and make it a square image, or I'm sure you could make it into a rectangular image as well. But now the bee doesn't look crammed way over on the left side, and it doesn't look like he's almost ready to fly out of the picture, and we don't have all that extra stuff that we don't need on the right side. And so and it also brings us closer to the bee, which is kind of nice. It's just too bad, and this happens all the time. There's not much you can do about it. Sometimes it's, you got to take a lot of shots. You got to get lucky. But there seems like there was some part of a flower or something that was in front of the bee's eyes, because we could see a little bit of a blur coming through this region, and that really takes away from the bee's eye. Whereas you can see down here, the bee is nice and sharp and clear. But over here, it's not, because there's got to be something in the way. It's probably not because it's out of focus, because everything else here looks like it's in focus. All right, here we have another shot of the bee. The bee looks sharper, and it's a nice flower here. This one, too, I believe, needs cropping to just give us the important part, which is the bee and the flower. We don't need all that stuff. We don't need that brightness over there. And let's just find a spot where we have the bee roughly in the third of the frame, the interesting flower on this part. We could probably pump up the midtones a little bit, brighten that up just a touch. And let's see. The bee's eye doesn't totally look sharp, but the fur on the bee, or hair on the bee, whatever you want to call it, that looks pretty sharp. So that's pretty nice. Here we have some nice flower images. I like this one a lot. You have the front flowers are nice and in sharp and in focus, and then it blurs out towards the back here. I don't mind seeing a little bit of the darker green on the side. We could maybe try brightening up this image just a little bit, not on the highlights, but on these midtones. Let's see what it looks like. Just shifting the midtones over a bit, not too much. And let's see if that really helps. That depends. This is a personal choice, whether you like the, sort of the darker mood or the lighter mood. Neither one is really wrong. So I like this image. This one's nice. Another flower image, and it's nice too, but I think that all of this stuff on the left side is really confusing the image and distracting. So this one I don't think is as good as the last one. I like this one also. This is a nice tight crop on this interesting bunch of flowers. It sort of has a nice triangular shape. It's got interesting colors. Let's see. As far as we can tell, that it looks very sharp, and through this region, it might have been nice if these front flowers were sharp. Let's see. We can't tell what f-stop it was. Maybe if you had been able to take it with a smaller f-stop, but even still, a lot of these flowers back here look sharp too. Remember, when you're dealing with macro photography, you have very little depth of field. Could be just millimeters in some cases. But I like that image, so it's good. Ah, cute dog. I like this one. And even though I don't know if that's the sidewalk or a street or whatever, it's not distracting. It's sufficiently blurred. We have nice green grass. Something feels a little strange about this image. I don't know if it feels like the dog's a little bit tilted or going downhill or something. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm going to try and tilt it a little bit to see if it feels less off balance. Maybe a little bit. Also, maybe get a little bit lower. I see you were down, getting closer to the dog's eyes, so that was good. But I think you could have been maybe a little bit lower. It's a cute dog. It's a nice image. The exposure on it looks pretty good. It's got light fur, and you didn't overexpose it, so that really helps. Here we have what looks like a hare or a jackrabbit or something, and it's very nice. I will try to pump up not so much. Just make it a little bit brighter. And I like it. It's nice. It looks like it's sharp. Not much action or excitement, but it's a nice little portrait of the rabbit. Remember, if you're going to shoot wildlife, you can get these portraits, and they're just fine. It also helps if you spend a little more time trying to get some sort of nature story where the organism is really doing something, playing, eating, fighting, whatever it might be, and it creates a much more interesting and dynamic image. Here's the bunnies again, and this time there's a lot of stuff blocking it. You can see maybe, I don't know if the flower is just there, if he's eating the flower. This one is fine. It's just a little more cluttered. And so I like the previous one better. This one's cute. It looks like he's looking up. You can see the whole rabbit there. You probably don't need this stuff in the background. I would probably crop in a bit. Don't need so much over on that side. Just simplify it a bit. I might want to give a little more room on the left side. But something like that. Also, it probably could be a little bit brighter. This might be a time when I would take the brush tool and increase the exposure on it to just bring out the face a bit more. Really call attention to that part of the picture. All right. This one probably wasn't in for critiques, but I grabbed it anyway. It was, put in for a contest or something. And it's a really cool old truck. The way you processed it shows off the rust. It's almost on like an HDR type of effect. But you can see that it is a bit overexposed. We can try to bring that in some. And I don't know, because of that effect, the grass and some of the things, it looks strange. What I'm doing here is not really helping it because it's a JPEG. Maybe on the raw file, maybe you could do some more with it. But the truck itself is very cool, and I like the angle you chose to photograph the truck from, so we can see this angle and this angle, all the rust and interesting effects. Be interesting to see what this looks like in black and white also. Let's just take a quick look at some black and whites, because I think the color is taking away some interest. I'm just trying to find one that looks decent on it. Maybe this one. And, removing the color does simplify it a bit. I think it looks interesting in black and white. Can we see the color versus the black and white? I don't know what you think, although the rust tones are nice. I do like that. I don't like this green back here and the sky back here. That's the part that's bugging me, but the truck itself is great. self-portrait, and I may have reviewed this one before. I'm not sure, but I had thrown it in here just in case that I missed it. I like it. It's got very interesting lighting, side lighting, so there's a highlight side and a shadow side to the face. It fits your first self-portrait. I think it's really cool. We can maybe brighten it up just a little bit so that the highlight side really stands out. Now, going half your face in darkness does make it very moody. So if that's the kind of shot you're going for, that works and it's fine. It does look cool. The one thing that you can try too is, since you have a black background, is to put a light back there to hit you on the back shoulder. And it will give you a little bit of a rim light, a little bit of separation from the background. But I think just pumping up the midtones a little bit did even create a little bit of separation back there. But it would be interesting to see with another light. And I believe that that is the last image. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second to see if anyone is arrived. All right, and I don't see anybody here, so I don't know if anybody was watching, but I hope you enjoyed those critiques and that it helped you improve your images. So again, this has been Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com. If you want to have your images critiqued just like this, you can learn photography through my online photography class and submit your images to have them critiqued every week. So I'm going to sign off on that. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.